Hey YouTube, Moose Cow here, back with a final recap video for our third game of BBR3, and first game with 4 people as opposed to 3. So this is the final recap, and as you can see, we didn't have to play the whole round, so it's basically the middle of US's turn before we were able to decide that against all odds, and in a game that has been completely neck and neck, we got ourselves an Axis victory. Here is the Boneyard Dish casualty bin. Yeah. Look at that. Man, what a few epic battles there were this last round of combat. Alright, so a lot of naval units. Some Russians, some Germans, a lot of naval units, Anzac, Canada, or no Canada, but Anzac, US, Japan, etc. And to go over the victory points, we have Berlin, Tokyo, Rome, Warsaw, Paris, Leningrad, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Atlantic Wall, Imperial, China, and Pacific Islands. Again, it was neck and neck. Mr. Scrubert put up a hell of a fight with US and UK throughout the game, and he taught me and Rick and Mike several things as to what you can do with US. My hat's off to him. He was a worthy adversary, to say the least. So without further ado, let me go over with what exactly happened. Germany, with all of its units that had brought over from Leningrad and some that didn't, took over Holland, Belgium, and then completely fortified Norway, bringing the tanks from Karelia and more units via the transports, and then more tanks from the transports, and then, or I forget, maybe he brought the tanks from over here. But anyway, point being, he got stuff from Leningrad and Karelia into Norway, as well as stuff from Western Germany, and then fortified Denmark. And as you can see, the Italians have a good hold on these two territories here. Atlantic Wall being Normandy, Holland, Belgium, Denmark, and Norway. So, and then that happened, and then he sent his navy over to those two sea zones because why not? Russia, and then he pressed into what's his territory again? Belarus. He pressed into Belarus, and he pressed into Ukraine, and then Russia fought back in Ukraine and Belarus. Also, I forgot to mention these last two turns. Mike was unavailable, so Mr. Scrubert had to take over for all the allies last round and this round. So that is what we're looking at right here. Oh yeah, the Germans also took over Archangel, and as you can see, Russia took that back, they took that back, they took that back, and then he sent mechs down to Eastern Poland, Baltic states down to Eastern Poland as well. And then yeah, he used fortified Denmark. The only hope that the U.S. could really do if they attacked here, well then, you know, the Italian units would just shuffle over, you know. But anyway, so what he tried to do while I'm over here, what the U.S. tried to do was take all the bombers and air force it had and attack Norway. That was the only hope that he could do to chisel down the Atlantic Wall. And Rick hasn't gotten any AAA hits this entire game, and this time he got 3 hits with that one AAA. So Ben took 3 fighters, 3 US fighters, and then the bombers, they all just rolled 3 hits, so not nearly enough. He's got he has heavy bombers, so each of those bombers are rolling 4 2s. Rick, by the way, had heavy tanks this whole game, but never ended up actually using them. So that pretty much covers this side of the board. And in the Pacific over here, with my job as Japan, there was this huge American Navy off the coast of the Philippines that if I didn't take care of it, it would take care of me. And there was no way that I could take out that Navy and the Philippines and be able to get enough victory points. So I threw everything I had at the Philippines. Let me get in closer. I threw everything I had at the Philippines, and this one battleship and a fighter, and this fighter were the survivors. And then I took one sub that I had in this sea zone, and I went down and killed the Anzac transport that was in 44. So we duked it out, had a hell of a fight, and I ended up winning and knocked out all the transports. Then I took what transports I had in 19, and again I built a naval base the previous turn as Japan, and I went to Borneo, and I took Borneo back. And then with the transports I had here, I sent one to Wake Island, and I sent one to Aleutian Islands. And then on non-combat, I sent more stuff to fortify that because he could attack with this guy and this fighter. That's it. So odds are good I would withstand that fight. And let's see. And then I already had Guam. So that's Borneo, Guam, Wake Island, Aleutian Islands. That's the Pacific Island victory point right there. And then over here, I had been fighting for South Asia this whole game, but I couldn't risk not being able to take this, not be able to take China back, and I have to be able to hold it. So I didn't bother fighting Burma back because there's no way I would be able to hold that and this. So I just took everything I had from French Indochina, minus the 2 fighters I had there, the fast movers from Malaya, which was 2 tanks, and then everything I had from Shan State. And then I air transported 2 units into there and 2 units from there into there, 4 infantry total. And we managed to take back Yan'an and knock out all those British forces. I see I don't have a roundel down, but you get the idea. So yeah, there's enough units there that he's not going to be able to take back Yan'an. And so I got the China VP. Also up here, the infantry I had here, I walked into Novosibirsk, and then the tank that was in here, I blitzed through Amur into here. The mech that was here, this mech backed up to Siberia, so that allowed me to blitz through there. So because I took those 3 extra points and took Borneo and that, it was more than enough by like 2 IPCs to get the Imperial point. I got, again, if you haven't seen this before, so this is what I use to keep track of the Reich point, but I got this red dot here that signifies the Imperial point, 52 IPCs, I'm at 54, and there's no way that the Allies can chisel me down within the rest of the round because Anzac, UK, and US don't have any more transports left. So this is all secure despite the little amount of Japanese units left on the board. It is secure. So there's that, and the Navy that the Allied Navy that Rick took out the previous turn, because he did that, even though he lost a lot of Air Force, because he did that, it prevents them from being able to do much at all over here. So great. But that is the state of things, and then Mr. Scrubert looked over the board, decided where, what he could possibly do, and he tried to knock down the Atlantic Wall, and because he wasn't able to, that was game, because nobody else can do anything. So, again, this game was neck and neck. I rolled the dice really well. Mr. Scrubert did as well. I rolled the dice really well on Yan'an, and I rolled the dice really well on 35. I didn't think I had enough cannon fodder, but I essentially just took all my aircraft carriers as casualties because they started from this sea zone, so they went 1, 2, and then any Air Force remaining could land in Hong Kong. So I was able to use all my aircraft carriers to take all the hits. Whew, yeah. So, crazy game. Absolutely loved it. We were not expecting to win this game. Rick will never be as experimental and indecisive with Germany again. He the first 4 rounds he kept changing his strategy, and for a good while that doomed us. But overall, great game. Again, I wasn't expecting to win, so it was a pleasant surprise that we were able to pull it off against all odds. Again, Mr. Scrubert's a great player, a worthy adversary, and yeah, now it's time for me to pack this all up and prep for the next game. So at some point, I got a busy work schedule coming up, but at some point, Rick and I will be doing a BBR game with our house rules for Vichy France, Free France, the Dutch, and Spain, as well as, I'm blanking on something else, I think. But anyway, but more or less that's it. So that is the current state of things in our little corner of Axis and Allies. And hopefully we'll all roll the dice better next time. So stay tuned to the next one, fellas.